Alrighty guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Best Investing Money Management channel on YouTube. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how I do technical analysis for swing trading. We're going to be kind of looking at a couple of stocks, then we'll go on Finvest and try to find some stocks and do some live technical analysis. So as you guys can see, we have the one and only Tesla loaded up here. And now the first thing I always like to do is draw a general trend line. Now I do have a couple of moving average lines, as you guys can see. I do have the 200, I have the 90 and the 20 all up and loaded here. The reason why I use them is because I can instantly look at it and get the general direction of the stock. Not to mention when the stock is above it, they often act as support lines. When the stock's below it, it does act as resistance lines. So the first thing I always like to do is just to draw a general trend line, just like I've done right here. Okay. Now the next thing that I always like to do is you need to draw out support and resistance. So support is when a stock has tendency to get buying pressure near and around a certain price or moving average line. So as you guys can see, we do have some decent support around pretty much this 800 to about this 875 mark. I did go ahead and draw it out. Now the reason why is because you guys can see we've hit it several times right down in here, and every time we just have that natural tendency to get buying pressure. Now another thing you have to understand is old resistance, like as you guys can see, this is when a stock has selling pressure. Old resistance has tendencies to act as new support. So you can see this was the old resistance where it hit it and we had sell off. Now once we had the breakout, curled back down and it tapped that old resistance and now is using it as support. Another resistance line is very, very simple. This is the one all the way up here at about $1,158. Every single time the stock has hit it, we just have that natural tendency to get sell off. Okay. So answering that question of when do you buy and when do you sell? It's very simple. You want to buy nearest to the support line. So what I always like to do is I always like to buy near and around that support, and I like to set my stop loss about 2% down from where the support line is, because if that's just say this stock goes sideways and starts selling off, I'm only out 2% and I'll be cutting my losses a lot sooner, and I always can buy back in. Now, another thing I always like to do is I like to sell pretty much about 2% from the resistance. I like to take my first profit, and then I always can continue to scale out if the stock continues to go up. Okay, so that's pretty much how I do this one here. We'll go ahead and we'll do one from scratch so you guys can see. But we'll look at the one and only Apple. So you guys can see I already drew them out because it's very, very simple. You guys can see it does have some resistance up here at about $177. You can see it just hit it and just has that natural tendency to get sell off near and around that price, right? It hit it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Support, on the other hand, is going to be down here at about this $156 mark. So answering that question right now of should I swing trade Apple? Well, if you were to swing trade Apple, I'll kind of go ahead and do what I would do. Pretty much if you hopped in at 170, you'd be risking, upwards of about $15 to possibly make about $7, which is not a good risk and reward. Risking $15 to make $7 is not a good risk and reward. Okay. So now let's go ahead and pull up on Finvest so we can kind of go ahead and evaluate and try to find some fresh stocks, right? Because I just looked at the more popular ones. So the first thing I always like to do, go on Finvest, go to the screener, go to all, and I like to change the price. I like to go underneath about $20 to $30. I always can change it if need be. That's the beauty of this stock scanner. And then the next thing I always like to do is I want average volume to be anything over about 500 to 750,000. We'll go under 500 and we can always change it. Okay. So you can see we have about 1,700 stocks still left to look at, right? We need to thin those out. So the next thing is I like to go to relative volume. I like to go anything over 0.5, 0.75, or even 1. We'll go 0.5 and we can always change it. And you can see that dropped it just a little bit, but this next one here will drop it a little more. So the next thing is the pattern. Okay, I want to find stocks that are near and around support lines. If I want to buy into a stock, and if I want to short a stock, I want it near resistance. So I like to go horizontal S and R. This means support and resistance. Or another thing you can do is you can go trend line TL support, TL strong support. We'll do that one, and you can see it dropped it all the way from like 1,100 stocks to 62 stocks. So next thing I like to do is click charts, and we're just going to continue to evaluate stocks that have some sort of potential. So the first thing that I always like to look at is I like a general upward trend. I want buying pressure involved. I want something that has buying pressure but has sold off just a little bit where I can get in at a pretty decent price. And the beauty of swing trading is if you don't find any stocks, that's completely fine. So something like CLS looks very, very interesting, and I'll show you why. CLS right here. All right. So looking at the stock, the first thing I always do is draw out the trend. Okay, very, very simple, not overcomplicated. So we have buying pressure, we have upward buying pressure. Now the next thing I like to do is draw out resistance. So what I do is I like to go to either horizontal line segment or horizontal line, whatever one is going to be the same thing. So you can see it's hit this $12.55 mark several times and just has a lot of tendencies to get a lot of sell-off near and around there. So we'll go ahead and classify this as the hard resistance, right? Even though it did have a little breakout in here, immediately sold off and curled back down. So the next thing I always like to do is draw out the support. Support is just when you get buying pressure. So you can see it does have, the thing about this one is it does have this moving average line as a decent support line and this trend line. So I personally think that this trend line right here is acting as the support line. And the reason why I say that is because you can see every time it's virtually hit this support, we just have that tendency to get buying pressure. So personally, hopping in right now at $11.29, what I would do, I would hop into this because this actually looks like a very good trade. Hop into this, set my stop loss pretty much probably at around 10.90. So I'm virtually risking, probably about 40 cents to possibly have this stock come up to about $12.56, which is risking 40 cents to make, what would that be? $1.20. So 40 cents to make $1.40 or $1.50. So you could be virtually wrong 3 or 4 times and still make money on something like this. So this is something that I personally would swing trade. CLS for me is an absolute go. And that's kind of how I evaluate, find stocks, how I use technical analysis for swing trading. It's really not overcomplicated. People that overcomplicate trading are the ones that have that tendency to lose money. I personally like to just keep it very, very simple, not overcomplicate it. And the beauty of it is, like I said, if we don't find any stocks in the market, that's completely fine. I would rather see you guys, and I personally would rather invest or trade high quality setups that have a higher risk and have a higher ROI than a crappy stock that I'm virtually risking a lot of money to make. I'm risking a lot to make a little, which wouldn't make sense. So guys, that's kind of how I evaluate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. We will see you guys later. Remember to stay happy, guys, stay positive, stay safe out there, and we will see you guys later. Take care.